In the vast darkness of space, the Galactic Zavarian Empire watched the small blue-green planet. Commander Xelf stood on the bridge of his massive ship, the Inevitable Dominion. His gray skin reflected the light of nearby stars as he studied the world called Earth on his view screens. 50,000 years, he said quietly. 50,000 years of conquest, and not once has any species resisted us for more than a few weeks. His second-in-command, Officer Varel, nodded in agreement. The humans are primitive. Their technology is basic. They only discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Xelf's four eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of his confidence. The Zavarian Empire had conquered more than 300 species across 17 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their method never changed. Send a warning, show their power, and accept surrender. It always worked. Begin the standard procedure, Xelf ordered. Send the warning message to their leadership. On the Jupiter monitoring station, Lieutenant Jack Harlow was completing his regular shift when the communication system began to beep. He frowned as he opened the incoming transmission. It wasn't from any human colony or Earth ship. What the hell? He whispered as the message appeared on his screen. The message was simple but terrifying. To the species known as humans, this is the Galactic Zavarian Empire. We claim your star system and all inhabited worlds under your control. You have 7 standard days to surrender all military assets and pledge loyalty to the Empire. Resistance will result in complete destruction of your military forces and major population centers. This is not a negotiation. Jack's hands shook as he verified the message was real. The sensors showed a massive fleet of ships just beyond Saturn, thousands of vessels larger than anything humans had ever built. Command needs to see this now, he said, sending an urgent transmission to Earth. Within hours, the leaders of Earth's Unified Defense Force gathered in an underground bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Olivia Wright, a tough woman with 30 years of military experience, read the message aloud to the assembled officers and government officials. President Nancy Collins looked pale. How many ships do they have? Our long-range scans show approximately 1,000 warships, replied General Ryan Foster. Each one appears to be carrying weapons we can barely understand. And how many ships do we have? Asked the president. Admiral Wright's face was grim. 217 combat-ready vessels across all our colonies, maybe another 50 that could be made ready within the week. The room fell silent. The math was simple and terrifying. We should surrender, suggested Secretary William Davis. We can't win against those numbers. Admiral Wright slammed her hand on the table. With respect, Madam President, surrender is not an option. We've been studying alien civilizations since we first went beyond our solar system. Every species under Zavarian protection lives as slaves. They take resources, force labor, and crush any sign of resistance. What do you suggest? President Collins asked quietly. We fight, said General Foster. Humans have been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. We've gotten very good at it. Admiral Wright nodded and slid a data tablet forward. Operation Hornet's Nest. We don't need to defeat their entire fleet. We just need to make victory so painful they decide we're not worth the trouble. The president studied the plan, then looked up at the faces around her. These were Earth's best military minds, and none of them showed fear, only determination. Send our answer, she said firmly. Tell the Zavarians that humans do not surrender. Admiral Olivia Wright walked quickly through the underground military base. Officers and soldiers moved aside as she passed. Everyone knew what was happening. The alien ultimatum had been shared with all military personnel. They had 6 days left before the Zavarians would attack. Admiral, the Joint Chiefs are waiting in the war room, said her aide, Lieutenant Maria Garcia. Thank you, Lieutenant. Have the latest fleet positions been updated? Yes, Ma'am. All ships are moving into defensive positions as ordered. Inside the war room, large screens showed the movement of both human and alien vessels. The Zavarian fleet remained in formation beyond Saturn, waiting for the surrender that would never come. General Ryan Foster stood as Admiral Wright entered. "The President approved Operation Hornet's Nest," he said. "All colonial military forces are ready to coordinate with Earth Command." Admiral Wright nodded and addressed the room. "The Zavarians expect us to either surrender or make a desperate last stand around Earth. They don't understand humans. We've been fighting each other so long that warfare is in our blood." She activated the main display. "Our plan has 3 parts. First, we make them think we're defending in a traditional formation. Second, we use our drone program to deliver an unexpected first strike. Third, we fight in ways they've never seen before." Captain Allison Grant spoke up from the video link from her ship, the Defiance. "Admiral, my crew has finished loading the special drones. Each ship in the fleet can deploy thousands." "Good. These drones are our best chance," Wright replied. "The Zavarians rely on energy shields. Our intelligence suggests they've never encountered nuclear weapons used in space combat." Lieutenant Jack Harlow, who had received the first alien message, raised his hand. "What about civilian evacuation plans?" "The Jupiter stations are directly in their path. All civilian stations are being evacuated to Earth and Mars," General Foster answered. "We're not leaving anyone behind." In the Zavarian command ship, Commander Xelf watched the human fleet with growing curiosity. His intelligence officers reported unusual activity. "The humans are moving their ships into formation," said Officer Vrel. "They appear to be creating a defensive screen between our fleet and their homeworld." Xelf studied the displays. "Interesting. Most species hide on their planets until the last moment. These humans are organizing a resistance. Should we attack now?" asked his tactical officer. "Why wait the full 7 days?" "No," Xelf replied firmly. "We follow protocol. The Empire has used the same methods for 50,000 years. When we attack, we will destroy their outer colonies first as a demonstration. Then they will surrender." On Earth, President Collins addressed the world's population through an emergency broadcast. Her face was calm but determined. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies, I must inform you that we have been contacted by an alien civilization known as the Zavarian Empire. They have demanded our complete surrender. After consulting with military and civilian leaders from all nations and colonies, I have rejected their demands." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Humanity will not bow to threats. We will not surrender our freedom. The Unified Defense Force is prepared to protect our worlds and our way of life." As the President spoke, factories across the solar system worked at full capacity. Mining ships extracted materials from asteroids. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to implement last-minute weapon modifications. On Mars, Captain Peter Jones addressed his crew aboard the warship Relentless. "The Zavarians think this will be easy," he told them. "They think we'll run and hide. They think we'll break. But they've never fought humans before." His crew cheered as he continued. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. In 3 days, we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity." Throughout human space, a quiet determination spread. The countdown to war had begun. The 7th day arrived, exactly as promised. The Zavarian fleet moved toward the human-controlled planets. 1,000 alien warships advanced in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with strange metals unknown to human science. Each ship was designed to project power and fear. Commander Xelf stood on the bridge of the inevitable Dominion, watching his fleet surround the small human vessels. He felt no excitement, only the satisfaction of another routine conquest. "The humans have deployed their fleet," reported Officer Vrel. 217 vessels in a defensive screen. Their formation is surprisingly organized. Xelf studied the human ships on his display. They were smaller than Zavarian warships, but moved with precision. This was unexpected. Most species cowered on their home planets during first contact wars. "Begin the demonstration," Xelf ordered. "Target their Mars moon base on Phobos. Destroy it completely." The main cannon of the inevitable Dominion powered up. A brilliant beam of energy, hot as a star, shot toward the Martian moon, where humans had built a large colony. The beam would vaporize the base in seconds. But something unexpected happened. 50 small human vessels suddenly moved into the path of the energy beam. Each deployed special reflective shields. When the beam hit, instead of destroying the ships, it scattered into harmless fragments of light. "Impossible," shouted Self, rising from his command chair. "No primitive species has ever developed beam reflection technology." On the UDF ship Defiance, Captain Allison Grant watched the successful shield defense with grim satisfaction. "The Zavarians took the bait," she said to her crew. "They targeted exactly where we predicted. Execute Operation Hornet's Nest now." Throughout the human fleet, bay doors opened. From each ship poured thousands of small unmanned drones. Each drone was simple, just an engine, a guidance system, and a single high-yield nuclear device. The drones moved with incredible speed, surrounding the Zavarian fleet like a swarm of angry insects. Their small size made them difficult to track on Zavarian sensors, which were designed to detect large warships, not tiny drones. "What are these devices?" demanded Self as alarms blared across his bridge. "Target them with secondary weapons." But there were too many. The drones attached themselves to Zavarian ship hulls. Their magnetic clamps bypassed the energy shields that were designed to stop energy weapons, not physical objects. Captain Peter Jones watched from the Relentless as the first wave of drones reached their targets. "All ships prepare for nuclear flash," he ordered. "Shields to maximum." The vacuum of space lit up as 23 Zavarian warships detonated simultaneously. The nuclear explosions created beautiful but deadly spheres of light and radiation. When the light faded, Commander Xelf stared in disbelief at his tactical display. 23 ships gone in an instant. Nothing like this had happened in 50,000 years of Zavarian conquest. "Pull back to defensive formation," he ordered. "We need to reassess their capabilities." But the humans gave them no time to regroup. As the drone attack continued, the main human fleet split into 3 battle groups. They attacked from multiple directions, using tactics that confused the Zavarian commanders. "Execute Thermopylae Protocol," ordered Captain Jones as his battle group charged directly toward the center of the alien formation. His ships released specialized disruptor fields that interfered with Zavarian targeting systems. The human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of Zavarian sensors, making them nearly impossible to hit. By the end of the first day of battle, the Zavarians had lost 100 ships. The humans had lost 37. It was an exchange rate no one had expected, least of all the Zavarians. On his flagship, Commander Xelf received an urgent message from his superiors. Explanation demanded for failure to quickly subjugate primitive species. Immediate victory required. Xelf looked at the battle displays showing his damaged fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something new: doubt. Commander Xelf paced the bridge of the inevitable Dominion, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. His second day of battle against the humans was going badly. Very badly. "Status report," he demanded. Officer Vrel's voice trembled as he spoke. "We have lost 147 ships. The humans continue to use tactics we have never seen before. They do not fight according to any known battle doctrine." Xelf slammed his fist on the command console. "They are primitives. They should have surrendered immediately." "There is something else," Vrel said quietly. "The Imperial Council is sending observer craft to evaluate your performance. If we do not achieve victory soon." Xelf knew what that meant. Failure in the Empire was punishable by death. His career, his life, depended on defeating these humans quickly. "Prepare the forbidden weapons," he ordered. "We will target their homeworld directly." In the Unified Defense Force headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Wright monitored the battle from the war room. Large screens showed the positions of all ships, both human and alien. "The Zavarians are regrouping," she noted. "They're forming a new attack pattern." General Foster studied the display. They're bringing their largest ships to the front. I think they're preparing for a direct assault on Earth. Admiral Wright nodded. Just as we predicted. Lieutenant Susan Martinez, is your team ready? Lieutenant Martinez stood at the cyber warfare station. She was young but brilliant, one of Earth's best computer specialists. Yes, Admiral. My team is ready to execute the next phase. Begin Operation Ghost Signal, ordered Wright. In a secure room nearby, Lieutenant Martinez and her team of 50 cyber warfare experts activated their quantum entanglement communication system. This technology was Earth's newest weapon, a system that used quantum particles to send messages instantly across any distance. The Zavarians don't know we can access their networks, Martinez explained to her team. Their encryption is advanced but predictable. They've never needed to defend against serious intrusion before. Her fingers flew across the control panel. We're in their command network. Beginning false signal insertion now. Across the Zavarian fleet, confusion spread as ships received conflicting orders. Some vessels fired on empty space. Others turned away from their targets. Several Zavarian ships even fired upon their allies, causing more destruction. On the UDF ship Relentless, Captain Peter Jones led his battle group through the chaos. The cyber attack is working, he told his crew. The Zavarians are disorganized. Now we strike at their command structure. His ships moved in perfect formation, targeting the Zavarian command vessels. Their weapons were less powerful than the aliens, but they were precisely aimed at critical systems. Commander Xelf watched in horror as 5 of his command ships exploded. How are they doing this? He shouted. How can primitives coordinate such precise attacks? Sir, said Vrel urgently, we're detecting strange energy patterns between their ships. They seem to be using some form of instant communication we don't understand. Xelf had never faced an enemy like this. The humans didn't fight like any species the Empire had encountered. They didn't try to match Zavarian power directly. Instead, they found weaknesses and exploited them ruthlessly. By the end of the second day, the battle had reached a stalemate. The Zavarians had superior firepower, but they couldn't coordinate effectively under the human cyber assault. In his private quarters, Commander Xelf received a message that made his blood run cold. Observer Kraft would arrive tomorrow to evaluate his performance. If Xelf couldn't show significant progress, he would be replaced and executed for his failure. For the first time in his life, Xelf considered something no Zavarian commander had ever done: negotiation with an enemy. But could he really break 50,000 years of imperial tradition? And would the humans even listen after what had happened? As he pondered these questions, the battle continued to rage across the solar system. Both sides prepared for what would surely be the decisive day of conflict. The third day of war began with a new Zavarian strategy. Commander Xelf had ordered his remaining ships to form a tight defensive formation. Their main weapons were pointed outward in all directions, creating a sphere of deadly energy that no human ship could penetrate. The humans cannot attack without being destroyed, Xelf explained to his officers. We will hold this position until Observer Kraft arrives with reinforcements. But deep inside the Unified Defense Force headquarters, Lieutenant Susan Martinez had different plans. Her cyber warfare team had worked through the night, digging deeper into Zavarian systems. Admiral Wright, we've discovered something important, Martinez reported. The Zavarians get all their fuel and supplies from automated stations hidden in the outer solar system. They have a major depot in the Kuiper Belt. Admiral Wright's eyes widened. If we could strike their supply line. Exactly, Martinez nodded. Their ships are powerful, but they use enormous amounts of energy. Without regular refueling, they'll be forced to power down non-essential systems. Wright immediately called General Foster. We need a special strike team. Our fastest, stealthiest ships, and I know just the officer to lead them. Major Frank Wilson was woken from a brief sleep period on the UDF ship Shadow. He was a veteran of special operations, known for completing impossible missions. Major Wilson, "Your new orders," said Captain Lisa Howard, his commanding officer. "You're to take a small force of stealth ships behind enemy lines. Your target is a Zavarian fuel depot in the Kuiper Belt." Wilson studied the mission details on his tablet. "This is deep behind their lines, Captain. How did we even find this target?" Lieutenant Martinez's cyber team found it in their logistics network. "The Zavarians don't expect us to know about it, so security should be minimal." Within hours, Major Wilson led a group of 5 stealth ships toward the outer solar system. Their vessels were painted with light-absorbing materials and used special engines that left no visible trail. "Maintain radio silence," Wilson ordered his pilots. "Use only quantum communication if absolutely necessary." As they traveled, the main battle continued. The human fleet kept the Zavarians occupied with hit-and-run attacks, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted by the aliens' main weapons. Inside the Zavarian formation, Commander Xelth received the news he had been dreading. "Observer Kraft's vessel has entered the system," reported Officer Vrel. "He demands an immediate update on the battle." Xelth knew his time was running out. "Tell him we have the humans contained. Their attacks are becoming less effective. Victory is assured." It was a lie, but Xelth needed time. Perhaps if he could hold out for a few more days, the humans would exhaust their resources. In the darkness of the outer solar system, Major Wilson's team approached their target. The Zavarian fuel depot was a massive structure floating among the icy bodies of the Kuiper Belt. It was guarded by only 3 small patrol ships. They never expected anyone to find this place, Wilson whispered as he observed the facility through his ship's sensors. "Prepare the special packages." Each stealth ship carried 5 nuclear devices designed specifically for this mission. Unlike the drones used in the main battle, these were placed with surgical precision. "Objective Achilles in sight," Wilson reported to Earth Command through the secure quantum channel. "Beginning final approach." The stealth ships slipped past the patrol vessels undetected. They placed their nuclear devices at key structural points around the depot. "All packages delivered," Wilson confirmed, withdrawing to safe distance. When the nuclear devices detonated, the explosion was visible all the way to Neptune. The Zavarian fuel depot and its millions of tons of specialized fuel were destroyed in an instant. On the inevitable Dominion, alarms blared as supply officers reported the disaster. "Main fuel depot destroyed," they told Commander Xelth. "All ships will be limited to emergency power within 48 hours. Observer Kraft's cold voice came through the communication system. Commander Xelth explained this catastrophic failure immediately. Xelth knew his options were running out. With no fuel, his fleet would be helpless within days. Perhaps it was time to consider the unthinkable. Talking to the humans. The destruction of the fuel depot changed everything. By the 4th day of battle, Zavarian ships began powering down non-essential systems to conserve energy. Their massive weapons required enormous power, and without fresh fuel supplies, each shot had to be carefully considered. Commander Xelth faced a crisis unlike any in Imperial history. On one side, his fleet was slowly dying. On the other, Observer Kraft demanded immediate action. "The Emperor expects victory, not excuses," Kraft said coldly during their meeting aboard the inevitable Dominion. "Use the forbidden weapons. Destroy their homeworld. The humans must be taught the cost of defiance." "With respect, Observer," Xelth replied carefully, "using planet killers would violate Imperial law. We use them only against non-sentient threats." Kraft's yellow eyes narrowed. "Laws can be changed when necessary. I am taking command of this operation. You are relieved." As Kraft left, Xelth remained in his chair, considering his options. In 50,000 years, no Imperial commander had ever disobeyed a direct order. But no Imperial commander had ever faced humans before. On Earth, Admiral Wright received surprising news from Lieutenant Martinez. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual communication within the Zavarian command structure. It appears there's been a change in leadership. Can you tell what they're planning?" Wright asked. Martinez nodded grimly. Their new commander is ordering the preparation of weapons we haven't seen before. Based on the power signatures, they could be planet killers. The war room fell silent. Even with their successful tactics, humans couldn't stop weapons designed to destroy entire worlds. We need to end this now, General Foster said finally. Before they deploy those weapons, Admiral Wright made a decision. Open a direct communication channel to their command ship. It's time to talk. Commander Xelf was surprised when he received the human transmission. He had been confined to his quarters after Kraft took command, but his loyalists still controlled communication systems. This is Admiral Olivia Wright of Earth's Unified Defense Force, said the human on his screen. She appeared calm and determined. We wish to speak directly with Zavarian Command. Xelf made a quick decision. This is Commander Xelf. I hear you, Admiral Wright. Our intelligence suggests you're preparing to use planet-killing weapons, Wright said without preamble. That would be a mistake. I am no longer in command, Xelf admitted. Observer Kraft now leads our forces. Wright's expression remained steady. Then I suggest you regain command quickly, Commander, because if those weapons are deployed, there will be no peace between our species. Ever. We will fight until the last human is dead, and we will take as many Zavarians with us as possible. Xelf had studied human history during the battle. He knew they spoke the truth. Unlike other species, humans had a long history of fighting against overwhelming odds. They did not surrender when defeat seemed certain. You fight like no species we have encountered, Xelf admitted. We underestimated you. We're not interested in your surrender, Wright replied. We want recognition and a guarantee of human independence. The concept was foreign to Xelf. In 50,000 years of conquest, the Empire had never signed a peace treaty. But he also knew the cost of continuing this war would be devastating for both sides. I will need time, he said finally. When the communication ended, Xelf called his most trusted officers. Observer Kraft has ordered the use of forbidden weapons against the humans, he told them. This violates Imperial law and our ancient code of honor. His officers exchanged glances. They too had seen what humans could do. They had lost friends to human attacks. What are your orders, Commander? Asked Officer Vrel. Xelf stood tall. We will prevent the use of planet killers. We will restore proper command. And then we will do something no Imperial commander has done before. What is that, sir? Asked a young officer. We will make peace, Xelf replied. That night, as Observer Kraft prepared to launch the forbidden weapons, loyalists to Commander Xelf moved swiftly through the inevitable dominion. By morning, Kraft was contained, and Xelf had regained command of the fleet. His first order, open a channel to Admiral Wright. Tell her we wish to discuss terms. 1 month after the first shots were fired, representatives of both species gathered on Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. This neutral ground had been chosen carefully for the historic meeting. Commander Xelf had been replaced as lead negotiator. The Zavarian Imperial Council, after receiving full reports of the battle, had sent their most senior diplomat, Imperial Emissary Velthera. She was older than Xelf, with pale gray skin that showed her advanced age. The human delegation was led by President Nancy Collins herself, along with Admiral Wright and other military and civilian leaders. They sat across from the Zavarians at a large round table, specially designed to accommodate both species comfortably. In 50,000 years of Imperial history, this is unprecedented, Emissary Velthera began. Her translator device converted her complex language into simple English. We have never signed a formal treaty with another species. President Collins nodded. We understand this is difficult for your empire, but it is necessary. Velthera spread her four-fingered hands on the table. The Imperial Council has reviewed all battle records. Your species fought with unexpected effectiveness. Our traditional methods of conquest proved inadequate. Admiral Wright allowed herself a small smile. The Zavarians were trying hard not to admit they had lost. The Empire has existed for 50 millennia by incorporating species into our protection. Velthera continued carefully. You are the first to demonstrate that some species are better left to their own governance. The real meaning was clear to everyone. Humans were too much trouble to conquer. The Treaty of Ceres was a simple document. It established human sovereignty over Earth and all its colonies. It created a buffer zone between human and Zavarian territories. Most importantly, it recognized humans as equals, not subjects. As President Collins signed her name, she spoke quietly to Velthera. This treaty protects both our peoples. We have no interest in Zavarian territory. We only wish to develop our own civilization in peace. Velthera signed for the Empire. Peace is acceptable, she said. War with humans is inefficient. Coming from a Zavarian, this was high praise. News of the treaty spread quickly across the galaxy. The Unified Defense Force received messages from other species under Zavarian rule. Many were cautious, but curious about the humans who had achieved what no one else had in 50,000 years. In Zavarian military academies, the curriculum changed. A new course was added, Human Combat Tactics, a study in unconventional warfare. Young Zavarian officers learned about Operation Hornet's Nest and other human strategies. Most significantly, a new protocol was established for all Zavarian ships. When approaching human space, captains were given strict instructions. Avoid confrontation at all costs. They do not fight to conquer, they fight to win. On conquered worlds across the galaxy, whispers began about the species that had taught the Empire to run. Some dared to hope that one day, humans might help others gain freedom too. 6 months after the treaty signing, Commander Xelf, now promoted instead of executed, thanks to his decision to seek peace, visited Earth as part of a cultural exchange program. Admiral Wright gave him a tour of the Unified Defense Force headquarters. Your species continues to surprise me, Xelf admitted as they walked. You were outnumbered 5-1, yet you fought as if victory was certain. Admiral Wright stopped at a window overlooking a training field where new recruits practiced. That's the thing about humans, Commander. We've spent thousands of years fighting each other. When we face an outside threat, all that experience becomes our strength. Xelf watched the human soldiers training below. The Imperial Council believes you will expand rapidly now. They predict you will have colonies in 30 star systems within a century. Wright smiled. Probably more. We're explorers at heart. And if you meet other aggressive species? Xelf asked. We'll try diplomacy first, Wright answered honestly. But if that fails, she didn't need to finish the sentence. As Xelf departed Earth, he recorded one final observation in his report to the Imperial Council. Humans are unique among all species we have encountered. They value peace, but excel at war. I recommend continued peaceful relations with humanity. The alternative is unacceptable.